Fire safety is the set of practices intended to reduce the destruction caused by fire. Fire safety measures include those that are intended to prevent ignition of an uncontrolled fire, and those that are used to limit the development and effects of a fire after it starts. Fire safety measures include those that are planned during the construction of a building or implemented in structures that are already standing, and those that are taught to occupants of the building. Threats to fire safety are commonly referred to as fire hazards. A fire hazard may include a situation that increases the likelihood of a fire or may impede escape in the event a fire occurs. Fire safety is often a component of building safety. Those who inspect buildings for violations of the fire code and go into schools to educate children on fire safety topics are fire department members known as fire prevention officers. The chief fire prevention officer or chief of fire prevention will normally train newcomers to the fire prevention division and may also conduct inspections or make presentations. Elements of a fire safety policy. Building a facility in accordance with the version of the local building code. Maintaining a facility and conducting oneself in accordance with the provisions of the fire code. This is based on the occupants and operators of the building being aware of the applicable regulations and advice. Examples of these include not exceeding the maximum occupancy within any part of the building, maintaining proper fire exits and proper exit signage, compliance with electrical codes to prevent overheating and ignition from electrical faults or problems such as poor wire insulation or overloading, wiring, conductors, or other fixtures with more electric current than they are rated for, placing and maintaining the correct type of fire extinguishers in easily accessible places, properly storing and using hazardous materials that may be needed inside the building for storage or operational requirements, prohibiting flammable materials in certain areas of the facility, periodically inspecting buildings for violations, issuing orders to comply and, potentially, prosecuting or closing buildings that are not in compliance, until the deficiencies are corrected or condemning it in extreme cases, maintaining fire alarm systems for detection and warning of fire, obtaining and maintaining a complete inventory of fire stops, ensuring that spray fireproofing remains undamaged, maintaining a high level of training and awareness of occupants and users of the building to avoid obvious mistakes, such as the propping open of fire doors, conducting fire drills at regular intervals throughout the year. Common fire hazards. Some common fire hazards are kitchen fires from unattended cooking, such as frying, broiling, and simmering. Electrical systems that are overloaded, resulting in hot wiring or connections, or failed components. Combustible storage areas with insufficient protection. Combustibles near equipment that generates heat, flame, or sparks, candles and other open flames. Smoking. Equipment that generates heat and utilizes combustible materials. Flammable liquids and aerosols. Flammable solvents placed in enclosed trash cans. Fireplace chimneys not properly or regularly cleaned. Cooking appliances, stoves, ovens, heating appliances, fireplaces, wood-burning stoves, furnaces, boilers, portable heaters, household appliances, clothes dryers, curling irons, hair dryers, refrigerators, freezers. Chimneys that concentrate creosote, electrical wiring in poor condition, leaking batteries, personal ignition sources, matches, lighters. Electronic and electrical equipment, exterior cooking equipment, barbecue, Fire Code. In the United States, the Fire Code is a model code adopted by the state or local jurisdiction and enforced by fire prevention officers within municipal fire departments. It is a set of rules prescribing minimum requirements to prevent fire and explosion hazards arising from storage, handling, or use of dangerous materials, or from other specific hazardous conditions. It complements the building code. The fire code is aimed primarily at preventing fires, ensuring that necessary training and equipment will be on hand, and that the original design basis of the building, including the basic plan set out by the architect, is not compromised. The fire code also addresses inspection and maintenance requirements of various fire protection equipment in order to maintain optimal active fire protection and passive fire protection measures. A typical fire safety code includes administrative sections about the rulemaking and enforcement process, and substantive sections dealing with fire suppression equipment, particular hazards such as containers and transportation for combustible materials, and specific rules for hazardous occupancies, industrial processes, and exhibitions. Sections may establish the requirements for obtaining permits and specific precautions required to remain in compliance with a permit. For example, a fireworks exhibition may require an application to be filed by a licensed pyrotechnician, providing the information necessary for the issuing authority to determine whether safety requirements can be met. Once a permit is issued, the same authority may inspect the site and monitor safety during the exhibition, with the power to halt operations when unapproved practices are seen or when unforeseen hazards arise. List of some typical fire and explosion issues in a fire code: fireworks, explosives, mortars and cannons, model rockets, certification for servicing, placement, and inspecting fire extinguishing equipment, general storage and handling of flammable liquids, solids, gases, limitations on locations and quantities of flammables, specific uses and specific flammables, permits and limitations in various building occupancies, assembly hall, hospital, school, theater, elderly care, child care, PRS that require a smoke detector, sprinkler system, fire extinguisher, or other specific equipment or procedures, removal of interior and exterior obstructions to emergency exits of firefighters and removal of hazardous materials, permits and limitations in special outdoor applications. Other hazards. Electrical safety codes such as the National Electrical Code for the U.S. and some other places in the Americas. Fuel gas code. Public fire safety education. Most U.S. fire departments have fire safety education programs. Fire prevention programs may include distribution of smoke detectors, visiting schools to review key topics with the students, and implementing nationally recognized programs such as NFPA's Risk Watch and Learn Not to Burn. Other programs or props can be purchased by fire departments or community organizations. These are usually entertaining and designed to capture children's attention and relay important messages. Props include those that are mostly auditory, such as puppets and robots. The prop is visually stimulating, but the safety message is only transmitted orally. Other props are more elaborate, access more senses, and increase the learning factor. They mix audio messages and visual cues with hands-on interaction. Examples of these include mobile trailer safety houses and tabletop hazard house simulators. Some fire prevention software is also being developed to identify hazards in a home. All programs tend to mix messages of general injury prevention, safety, fire prevention, and escape in case of fire. In most cases, the fire department representative is regarded as the expert and is expected to present information in a manner that is appropriate for each age group. Fire educator qualifications. The U.S. industry standard that outlines the recommended qualifications for fire safety educators is NFPA 1035, Standard for Professional Qualifications for Public Fire and Life Safety Educator, which includes the requirements for Fire and Life Safety Educator levels 1, 2, and 3, Public Information Officer and Juvenile Fire Setter Intervention Specialist levels 1 and 2. Target audiences. According to the United States Fire Administration, the very young and the elderly are considered to be at-risk populations. These groups represent approximately 33% of the population. Fire Safety Plan. A fire safety plan is required by all North American national, state and provincial fire codes based on building use or occupancy types. Generally, the owner of the building is responsible for the preparation of a fire safety plan. Buildings with elaborate emergency systems may require the assistance of a fire protection consultant. After the plan has been prepared, it must be submitted to the chief fire official or authority having jurisdiction for approval. Once approved, the owner is responsible for implementing the fire safety plan and training all staff in the duties. It is also the owner's responsibility to ensure that all visitors and staff are informed of what to do in case of fire. During a fire emergency, a copy of the approved fire safety plan must be available for the responding fire department's use. Fire safety plan structure. Key contact information. Utility services. Access issues. Dangerous stored materials. Location of people with special needs. Connections to sprinkler system. Layout, drawing and site plan of building. Maintenance schedules for life safety systems. Personnel training and fire drill procedure. Create safe haven. Use of fire safety plans. Fire safety plans are a useful tool for firefighters to have because they allow them to know critical information about a building that they may have to go into. Using this, firefighters can locate and avoid potential dangers such as hazardous material storage areas and flammable chemicals. In addition to this, fire safety plans can also provide specialized information that, in the case of a hospital fire, can provide information about the location of things like the nuclear medicine ward. In addition to this, fire safety plans also greatly improve the safety of firefighters. According to FEMA, 16% of all firefighter deaths in 2002 occurred due to a structural collapse because the firefighter got lost. Fire safety plans can outline any possible structural hazards, as well as give the firefighter knowledge of where he is in the building. Fire safety plans in the fire code. In North America alone, there are around 8 million buildings that legally require a fire safety plan, be it due to provincial or state law. Not having a fire safety plan for buildings which fit the fire code occupancy type can result in a fine, and they are required for all buildings, such as commercial, industrial, assembly, etc. Advances in fire safety planning. As previously stated, a copy of the approved fire safety plan shall be available for the responding fire department. This, however, is not always the case. Up until now, all fire plans were stored in paper form in the fire department. The problem with this is that sorting and storing these plans is a challenge, and it is difficult for people to update the fire plans. As a result, only half of the required buildings have fire plans, and of those, only around 10% are up to date. This problem has been solved through the introduction of digital fire plans. These fire plans are stored in a database and can be accessed wirelessly on site by firefighters and are much simpler for building owners to update.